assisted living versus independent and sorting through that as well. So enjoy, and I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you, thank you.
I love it when I get a round of applause before I even open my mouth. Good morning. And you know something, Lynn, you were wrong. People didn't stay away in the rain.
I'm
So
amazed.
delighted to
Very
see you here. Do you mind if we sit sometimes and make this more conversational? Because it's not just us. It's kind of all of us, and we do value input from you. And looking forward to this. Well, let me tell you a little bit about us. Lynn and I are real estate brokers. We've been working together for 10 years now, at least. About 4 years ago, we decided that the best thing for two old ladies to do was to go out, forget big companies, start our own little brokerage and help people have fun, because real estate's really great. Nobody dies. People achieve their dreams. And during this time, Lynn and her husband, actually it was mostly Lynn, decided to downsize.
My
Okay,
husband went kicking and screaming, right?
why don't you tell us about that?
We were living in a large condo in Chestnut Hill. We were there over 30 years. Our condo fee hit $2,000 a month. And I looked at my husband and said, this is craziness. It's ridiculous. We're moving. And he said, nah, we're managing it. It's okay. But I'll make a deal with you, honey. If you can get me $1 million for this place, I'll move. Well, he challenged the wrong gal. I knew we could do it. So I called Annette and I said, Annette, you have a new listing. And we sold it in a week, and my husband totally panicked. Totally panicked. We were living about a mile from his boyhood home. He didn't know where he'd go out for breakfast. Things that I just hadn't considered. So the move was very hard on him. But what I didn't expect at all is that it was also hard on me. We'd been in the same place for 30 some years.
How much stuff did you have?
I had 47 mason jars. It's like every time I bought something in a mason jar, I figured I'll need it someday. The place we bought out in Wayland didn't fit with my furnishings in Chestnut Hill. I had to dispose of them. That was harder than I thought. You'd think that people would want quality furniture. They don't. And then there were the 6 sets of dishes I had, and the 4 sets of crystal that I'd accumulated, mine, my mother's, both of my grandmothers, that my kids still don't want. And I found it surprisingly overwhelming. I mean, after all, I'm in the business. I've helped people do this for 25 years. What's the big deal? And it was shocking to me that it was, in fact, a big deal. So I'd say that's what started our journey into discovering resources and becoming more adept at helping our clients prepare. And so the information we're sharing with you today applies whether you want to move or you don't, because it's a good idea.
Because we did about 1.5 years worth of programs calling Downsize or Stay. And Lynn downsized. They're going to carry me out feet first. I'm in my 13th house since I've been married. I have the last move from Milton to Waltham. My husband says, we're not going to pay any blankety blank movers. We can do it ourselves. I can't believe I'm still married to him. Okay. Almost 57 years. It's easier to stay married sometimes. But I still have stuff. And we're going to talk about stuff today because it's an interesting thing with this whole process of saying, I'm going to stay, I'm not going to stay, I'm making plans for the future. Do I want to go into continuous care? Do I want to find a condo, single floor? It's all complicated by stuff. And that we find is the biggest challenge. So we're going to talk about today. Why do we have so much stuff? We have enough room for it. The kids left, let's make that my crafts and sewing room. Okay.
AKA crap room, right?
We only need one car. We got a whole half of a garage. Don't let's put it in the garage for now. We'll get to it later. Okay. We have room for all of this stuff and we might need it. I don't mind telling you. You can sit down, Lynn, if you want. You mind if I sit? Okay. I'm an old lady. I'm older than she is, and she's old. Okay. About a month and a half ago, we got another shipment from Amazon. We all get shipments from Amazon, right? This box was perfect. And my husband and I took the stuff out of the box and we both looked at it. And I could hear him thinking, should we keep it? That is a perfect size box for something, and I know I'm going to need it. We're of a similar generation. Our parents were part of the greatest generation. Legally, I'm part of the greatest generation. I was born before the end of World War II. 2 days before the end of World War II. But that makes me part of the greatest generation, although I identify as a baby boomer. Okay. We were raised by parents who lived through the Great Depression. And we do many of the things that they did. Heaven forbid there should be anything left in the mayonnaise jar or the peanut butter jar. I mean, we take those spatulas, those rubber spatulas, and we clean it out. They are almost hygienically clean by the time we empty them. Am I correct? We do the same thing, and we might need that again. It's so nice to be in a room with people who understand me.
Laughing with tears in our eyes.
Yeah. Why do we keep the stuff? We're saving it for our kids and our grandkids. It's our legacy.
There's a problem with that. There's a problem with that, right? They don't want it. They don't want it. So that leaves us with some decisions we have to make. We'll get there.
It's stored where we don't see it. It's that simple. I told you 13 houses, 13 moves. I had a rule. If a box hadn't been opened in 2 moves, I could throw it out without opening. I always opened it. I was always curious to see what I didn't need, and then I kept it. Then somebody said, this is important. You should keep it. Your tax returns, your bills, you want this history. I think I have the settlement statement from 3 houses ago. I don't know why I keep it, but I might need it. Okay. And I was cleaning out some paper a few months ago. I found tax returns from 1990 something or another. I got rid of them. I didn't need them anymore. But it's in a box someplace. It's in a box someplace, and I'll go through. And it's amazing what you find sometimes. We keep stuff because it's a part of our history. There's a strong emotional attachment to it. Let me show you what I mean. You can hold this.
This one cracked me up. I can't believe she has them.
Recognize these? The person who did this. I can't do it. Hold this one.
There you go.
My son who put his hand in this plaster of Paris is going to be 55 years old next month. This one is going to be 53. For some reason, they're important to me. I still have them. I want to be careful. This one is broken once. I have a brochure that I managed to pick up in Japan at a kabuki show. Have you ever been to kabuki? No, of course, they don't do it in this country. It's kind of like grand opera for the Japanese. It's same level. Not everybody likes it. It's a very specific form of entertainment. It's absolutely magnificent to see in person. But I have this program and I hate to throw it out because I'm not going to get another one. Well, maybe, but not in the near future. And it has some very special memories. I mean, what in the world am I going to do with it? I keep it. I keep it. I'm sorry. Somebody have a suggestion? It was really interesting. They gave us headsets, and in the theater, they'll give you a running commentary, not only in English, but also in Japanese, because kabuki is such an old form of entertainment. They use an older version of Japanese that the modern Japanese folks don't understand. It was really quite interesting, culturally jarring, but beautiful nonetheless. So why do we keep the stuff? We don't know what to do with it. It's there. I should get rid of it. What should I do? I have no idea. So what we're going to talk about are some tactics that may help you. We don't have all the answers. We have a lot of them, not all of them. And everybody's situation is a little bit different. But the first hint is include everybody in the family. It's not your job alone. I can't tell you how many folks tell us, well, I got my stuff, but then when Johnny went to college, he left his things here, and Sally left her drum set and her guitar, and they're in the other room. It's not all our job. Now, when my mother passed about 6 years ago, she was in a memory unit. We didn't have a lot of stuff, but we had some stuff. And my sister took care of that. God bless her, because she was here in the States. And when my mom died, I was sitting in a hotel room in Delhi, India. I need to tell this story. It has nothing to do with stuff. Well, kind of. I'm sitting in a hotel room in Delhi, India, and I get a call from my sister. And she says, Mom died, and the funeral home doesn't want to cremate her without your approval. My mom was 95. This was not unexpected. So there was not a whole lot of grief and emotion at this point. I said, well, if I understand correctly, she's paid them to be cremated. She took care of this all ahead of time. And you have power of attorney. What is their problem? She says they won't do it. I said, what if we just forget about it? They'll charge us rent to keep her body there. Okay. I said, well, that's not a good solution. So I sent them an email. And I said, to whomever it may concern, my mother, Ethel Callistro Donnelly, has prepaid for her cremation. My sister, Ruth Callistro, whatever, Whitman, has power of attorney to tell you to order her cremation. I have no dog in this fight, but I give you permission to cremate my mother. I hope this covers everybody's ass. And I sent it along. Okay. But my sister had all of my mother's few things that were left over that she hadn't gotten rid of. And last year she moved to Florida. So guess who inherited it? I got a 12-piece set of Noritake china, intact, that my dad had sent back from Japan in 1951. Beautiful china. dishwasher safe, no gold. And I inherited what was left of my mother's Hummels. Anybody have Hummels? I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. So I threw it out to the universe. My grandchild's high school girlfriend said, "Oh, we'd love to have the china." I said, "It's in the box." And she took it out and it was gone. Just put it out there. And then there was something on Facebook, or it may have been International Hummel Day. I post the celebrations every day on Facebook. It's a fun thing to do. And I said, "Oh, my mom had some Hummels. I don't know what to do with them." And one of my cousins in Colorado, I don't know which one, I have about 150 cousins in Colorado. That's another long story. But she says, "I love Hummels. I damn near killed myself going to the store to get the bubble wrap. It was gone in 2 days." But the point of it is, include everybody, find out what somebody else may need or want in the family. Don't you? It's that emotional touch. When I was a little girl, my mother had this picture of this little girl sitting on a potty, and in French it said, "Business is business." Okay. It's one of those little nonsense things you pick up at a fair or something. For, but that was part of my childhood. I had it framed. I gave it to one of my kids because I couldn't throw it out. So it's good to ask the family and friends. Maybe they find some use for what you no longer need. But let's look at another scenario. You just went into that craft room and it's full. And the thought of going through everything is just mind-boggling. I mean, do you have the energy? One thing that I've heard suggested is to do a 10-minute sweep. And what I mean by that, you get the whole family together. First of all, it's not just you. Get the whole family together if you can, and they're nearby. And you map out a 2 foot by 2 foot square. And you spend no more than 10 minutes going through what's in that 2 foot by 2 foot square. Then you go and watch TV or do whatever else you want. Because how do you eat an elephant? Do you know how to eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And when you're looking at a room full of stuff, it's overwhelming to do the whole thing. You do it 2 feet square at a time. Doesn't have to be done all in one day. Just a little bit. And then within a few weeks, that room is clear. Okay? I have often said my house is not the cleanest house in the world. It's not clean at all. Actually, I hate cleaning. I married a man who does it, so it's pretty good, but he's not obsessive about it either. However, I will tell you, Lynn, tell them what my computer looks like.
Oh, it drives me crazy. She's got a folder for everything. The challenge is she can't remember what folder she put things in. And my computer, by contrast, is a hot mess, but I find everything. So we all have different styles when it comes to how we organize, right?
You don't organize, you disorganize. But I'm a neat freak. I don't care if it's dirty, but it's got to be in the right place. And I spend a good portion of my life organizing my office so that I know where everything is, and I know where everything is in the kitchen. And there's a place for everything, and everything should be in its place at the end of the day. And if you start doing this and you find you don't have a place for it, get rid of it. You don't need it. In other words, the neater, the more organized you are, the more you can see what you need and seriously want and may not need and can get rid of. So there's a place for everything and everything in its place. And as an aside, My husband thinks every flat surface is a place for stuff. I can't believe we've stayed married for 57 years. I seriously can't. So let's talk about the serious process of going through your stuff. Now, you worked with Mary, didn't you? What did you do?
I worked with a friend who's also a professional organizer. She sat me on the couch in my condo like a princess and either pointed or held up each thing and said, yay, nay, don't know. So at least we immediately got rid of all the nays. Okay. And somehow having somebody force you to make that decision was money well spent because organizers don't come cheap, but it was well worth it. Then we were left with two piles, the keep pile and the maybe pile. And we started with the maybe pile, and she made me justify, why is this a maybe? When do you think you'll need it? What do you think you'll use it for? Ah, get rid of it. So the maybe pile ended up to be a discard pile. And so we quickly, in a few hours, took all this mountain. I kept one mason jar just because what the hell. And I just looked, I now have 7 of them. And I'm going home today to get rid of them.
She lives in a lovely condo with lots of room and a basement, so it's a continuous process. But when you go through this process, what we recommend is that you have 4 piles. The stuff you're going to keep, the stuff you think you can sell, the stuff you're going to donate, and the stuff you know you're going to throw out. And what we recommend is that the stuff you're going to keep, make that the farthest pile. You got to get up and move over there to do it. You have to expend a little bit of energy. Trash is easy. You just get rid of the trash. How about selling stuff?
Oh, well, I have 3 sets of good china. I went onto the internet, looked at them. They're not worth much. Okay. But they were important to me. So I narrowed them down. I gave away the least liked set. Because how many I donated. Um, I also had a set of gorgeous charger plates that my grandmother dragged over from Europe. There was no way I was going to give them up, but I also don't use them. They're too pretty. So my solution for that was to build a plate rack so I can see them every day. They give me pleasure to see them every day. And I kept one other set of china that actually, this past Passover, I had 26 people in my house for Seder. I was crazy, okay? But I just felt that this year it was really important. And I pulled them out. And my son in law, the minimalist, oh my God, he'd throw anything out, said, hey, I never saw these before. They're really beautiful. I would take these. And I said, yay. Yay, they're yours. They're gone. And I kept one set of crystal because wine tastes better in it. And I use it. Whenever I treat myself to a glass of wine, I reach for a crystal glass and smile. So I think the moral of this story is to try to get in touch with those pieces that give you pleasure, and then it becomes easier to part with the rest. So I hope that helped, but it definitely helped me.
I know it did. She fretted over all of this. But my sister, I told you, she moved down from central Pennsylvania down to Florida. And she had an online auction. There are places like Max Sold. I actually did a search in preparation. You can do online auctions, online estate sales. And what this company did was to come in and take photographs of everything she wanted to get rid of, and they put it online as an auction. Now, for everything that was sold, she would get something like 60% of the sale price. Anything that didn't sell, they would take care of. And she paid them a fee. I don't know how much. I never asked her.
They also will handle all the pickups. It's hands off because I think that I have some reservation about just meeting strangers at my front door and not knowing who I'm opening my door for. So a company like Max Sold will deal with all of that from their warehouse. So they'll take it out when it's sold, move it to their warehouse and collect the money and take care of it for you. And that's a blessing, right?
Again, I got online yesterday. I spend my life in front of my computer, but I did a special search and I found Max Sold, huntestatesales.com and estatesales.org. It's a Google search, online estate sales, and they all pop up. Okay. Now, you used that place in Waltham, didn't you? There are a couple places. We know of one in Framingham and one of Waltham. It's a consignment shop. How did that work? That you had to pay them?
They charged me a moving fee to move furniture that I wasn't going to take with me. I think it was $500 or $600, and they put it in their consignment shop. A few of the pieces sold, and I got a portion of it. So I basically broke even. And the pieces that didn't sell in 60 days, they donate, and I got the tax deduction. So to me, it was worth it just to get it out of there. I didn't want to see it anymore. I didn't want to look at it anymore. So to me, that worked very well. Well, we do have a handout, a present for you. We've started a website that is dedicated to resources for seniors and anybody else, actually. But you'll see when you log in there that there are categories. So there's a whole category called stuff where all of these resources are. And there are other categories too, financial, the wellness group. I work once a week with a trainer who specializes in working with people my age. And my husband, who is 80, almost 87, and has serious spinal stenosis, we work out together. We drag our sorry butts home. He works us very, very hard, but you'll find his contact information there. Not yet? Not yet? Well, get with it.
At age 70, I found out I can put up websites. I got half a dozen out there, but I haven't updated this one with the trainers. And I also work with a trainer. I had my knee replaced a couple of years ago, and the doc said, "Hey, you can go for outpatient PT." The last thing in the world I enjoy is outpatient physical therapy. I'm saying no. So I hired myself a 20-year-old trainer. Every 77-year-old needs a 20-year-old personal trainer. These kids are absolutely amazing. They know their stuff, and I push them all the time. A song comes on. I said, "Do you remember that?" No, it was popular in 1963. No, he wouldn't remember that. And I told him that my goal is to look like Linda Hamilton did in Terminator 2. Well, he didn't know who Linda Hamilton was. He didn't know Terminator 2. So I sent him a picture of her, and it's up next to my profile on his computer. So that is our goal. I find the older I get, the more fun I have with stuff like this. But yeah, these consignment shops are waiting. Furniture has no value. Once you buy, it's worse than a car, really. But the other thing I've done is I've donated. There are a couple of places, more than a couple actually, that will take your furniture, pick it up, and give it to people who are leaving homelessness. Young people buying their first homes who have nothing. I've donated dishes, I've donated flatware, probably sent furniture over there. In Acton, there's Household Goods. In Boston, there's Welcome Home Mass, and Salvation Army will pick up. You know what's a really good resource for a lot of this are your senior centers, your councils on aging. We've visited a whole bunch over the last couple of years, and the people there are very knowledgeable and resourceful as well. And if they don't know the answer, they'll find it for you. So we rely on them a lot. Okay. So 4 piles sort, donations go to Household Goods, Max sold to sell the stuff, the garbage, and the stuff you're going to keep. I haven't done that. I don't have any expertise in that area.
I'll tell you, I looked into it. It made me uncomfortable. First of all, on eBay, I'd be responsible for packing it up and getting it to them and insuring it and everything else. And Facebook Marketplace is like opening up your house to anybody. And I think as seniors, we're especially cautious about getting scammed. So that wouldn't be my personal choice. I'd rather work with somebody that I knew I could trust. But certainly there are options if you're comfortable with them.
And I've had no experience with any of it. So anything I'd say would be horse hockey. Well, it's a good term. Okay. Another tactic is to do what Lynn did with her china, what I did with um, my mother's china, what I've done with some of my jewelry. I gave it to the kids now. If they want it and they can enjoy it, why keep it? In fact, the jewelry I was wearing yesterday, it's an interesting story. Some opal jewelry, earrings, and a little pendant. And I gave it to my son's first wife. They divorced. But a few years ago after look, he's getting married again for the third time. We're getting used to this. It's becoming a habit. But a few years ago, his first wife is the mother of my grandchildren. So we've kept a cordial relationship over the years, for which I consider it a blessing, really. I just saw her last week at the second grandchild's graduation. She gave them back to me. She said, "Thank you so much, but I have remarried and these are yours." Okay. Oh, another story. Here, hold this a second. I'm full of, the older you get, the more stories you have. Okay. Last Thanksgiving, I decided that instead of costume jewelry like this, which I love, got this up at Tower Hill, by the way, I wanted real jewelry. So I went out and bought myself a diamond ring. Pretty? Isn't that pretty? This woman looks at me and she says, "Oh, that's beautiful. You have 2 granddaughters." I bought another one. And the girls know these are theirs when they get big enough. So no.
This was my grandmother. I have 2 daughters. So, and this was, I had it forever. So they decided, well, one of them's taking this and the other's getting that. And I said, I'm not ready yet. You can't have them yet. I enjoy them every day. But, when I lost my mom, she, her process toward dying was long and slow, and she had a lot of time to think. And when she finally passed and I went into her closets with my sister and my sister-in-law, we found everything in threes. There were 3 expensive purses. There were 3 rings, almost identical. She had thought this through, and that stayed with me. So I've had lengthy conversations with my kids about what they want, what they don't want. And I've started to give them pieces that my father gave my mother, that my grandmother gave my mother, because they mean more than their actual value, their intrinsic and sentimental value. I mean, I don't know. It's probably I don't know what this is worth, but it means tons to me because it was my grandmother's ring. And I think that to be able to it gives me peace of mind to know that that sense of cherishing it for the right reason will be passed on.
Another tactic, avoid punting. You know that picture that your mother loved that you keep because she loved it and you know you're going to give it to the kids?
They don't want it. Which one? Oh, I had in my old condo uh, a China hutch that my mother loved that I moved when I came out here from Chicago. I moved it, but I never really loved it. It was not practical. It didn't hold enough. And it pained me that I didn't cherish it the way she did, and that nobody wanted it. It was actually kind of ugly. So that really wasn't punting as much. I avoided, I mean, it was the last piece to go out of pure guilt. And that's the wrong reason to hold on to something. So that would be the other lesson. Nobody cares about your guilt. Let it go. No, but that your kids don't care about your guilt. They'd have gotten rid of it a long time ago. So you need to sort of rank your sentimental thoughts into what really really matters.
Next tactic, which we really kind of covered, donate. Donate, donate. Whether it's actually, I had a bad situation yesterday. I didn't tell this to you. I told you my son's getting married. I ordered 3 pairs of shoes. I found ones that will work. Okay. I'll wear the other 2 as well, but I got rid of 3 pairs of shoes out of my closet. This is a tactic that Lynn does. When I said to her once, they're giving away free t-shirts, she says, no, I'd have to get rid of 2 that I have. It's her unbreakable rule since she downsized. Okay. So I got rid of 3 pairs of shoes and I said something to my second grandchild. And she said, well, I think my friend could use those. And they sat and they sat. So I took them and I donated them. He comes to me yesterday and says, what happened to those shoes? There was another pair of shoes he meant to return to a friend that he'd thrown in the pile. Well, they got donated too. I guess I'm going to have to buy her another pair of shoes. But yeah, I take them down and get rid of it. Um, and you get a tax deduction as well, most times. Okay. Another tactic is to be realistic. Have you checked the dates on your food? If you have any food that doesn't have a date on it, get rid of it. It's old. I have some stuff from Kroger and I haven't lived in Kansas for 30 years. But be that as it may. Okay. Clothing. I still have some size 14 dresses I am going to get into. When I don't know, but I've started regularly going through my closet. I still keep a couple of the smaller size ones. I will get into them, but not as many as I used to have. And guys, if you've got slacks from 36 to 42, you don't need them all. Not only that, they're going to be out of style. Okay. So Go through your stuff. I do it regularly. Like I said, I got rid of 3 or 4 pairs of shoes. Some of them were gorgeous, but I don't wear heels anymore. Some of them were gorgeous and I wore them once and they hurt my feet, but I knew that the next time they wouldn't hurt so much. I got rid of those as well. And the last hint, paper and photos. Go through the paper, shred what you don't need. Banks and especially banks have regular shredding events. Check around and you can go and dump all your stuff there. Or if you have a shredder at home, do it and shred it. Again, how long do you need the tax return? 7 years? Okay, the stuff that I had was 30 years old, I got rid of. Okay. Um, they were just sitting in a box. Some places I went through it. Um, I don't need my bills. I've stopped. I get an electronic notice that my Verizon bill is due. And I pay it electronically from the bank. So I no longer have checks for my monthly statements. And I don't even open the bill. I got the Verizon bill. I threw it in the trash the other day because I'd already paid it since I'd gotten the online notice. Now, your process may differ, but I'm finding I don't need the paper. Photographs. Look at those photos, and if you don't know everybody in that picture, get rid of it. You don't need it. And one suggestion I've heard, and I'm not sure I totally agree with this, is to take 15 or 20 photos that really mean a lot to you, put them in a plastic bag so they're not damaged, and keep those and get rid of everything else. As I said, I've been married for 57 years. I don't want to get rid of all of those pictures. I mean, I got pictures of these guys when they were toddlers. So I'm still struggling with that a bit, but we do have a lot of photo albums and not too many pictures now in a big box.
And the smartest thing I've done is scan the ones I really care about, save them digitally. They were all degrading and falling apart anyway. I did the same thing with my mother's and both of my grandmother's recipe cards. I still cook off of my mother's recipe card box because I feel like it makes me closer to her. But my grandmother's not so much. I scanned them, put them all in one place, and sent them to all the kids. And they appreciate that it doesn't take up space. I could safely get rid of all of those cards that had gravy and 45-year-old crud all over them, you know? Um, and when you scan them, the crud shows up. So it's authentic. So if you have the skills, the computer skills, that's a great alternative to be able to preserve your memories in very small space.
Do you know what this woman did yesterday? She gave me 2 books she had finished reading. Better they clutter up my house than hers. The truth is, I don't remember the last time I actually purchased a book. I support my library. They all know me there. I like holding a book. However, I have 2 apps on my phone that I can get books from the library. Doesn't cost me anything. And I had a friend who gave me a t-shirt that said, I suffer from abibliophobia, fear of not having enough books. I always want something to read. And I really do appreciate the books that you give me. If she says they're good, they're good. But when I finish with them, I'm not going to keep them. I will either give them to the library for their annual sale, or there's a wonderful nonprofit called More Than Words. Have you heard of it? I share too much in these programs, but number of 25 or so years ago, my husband and I adopted a 12-year-old from foster care. We were freaking crazy. You have no idea. But after we worked through, you know, the agita that teens go through, multiply it by a factor of 6 when you have a child of trauma. Okay. However, he is the father of my 2 youngest granddaughters who are perfect. And he's come through the process and is a wonderful man now. And I forgot where I was going with this. More Than Words. Thank you so much. More Than Words was put together by some social workers a few years ago as a place where kids aging out of foster care could learn skills, business skills, interpersonal skills. And the kids run the organization, and they sell books, and they take clothing donations, and it has evolved into a simply magnificent organization. And
7 crates of books when I moved because I like owning a book. I like reading it again if it's exceptional. I mean, I I like browsing the bookstore and owning it. So I have a stack of unread books that are waiting for me. And if it sits too long, I give it away. Yep.
so we've perhaps shared too much personal stuff, but we have lives just like you do. I've gone through my list of tactics. Oh, you know, the one thing we didn't say, there are people who specialize in helping you organize, and they have additional resources. They're not cheap. They're not inexpensive necessarily, but they get the job done for you and they help you. Some of them are social workers. We have such strong attachments to our stuff, and they help you work through keeping it, not keeping it, doing something with it. Some people are just permanently disorganized, and having somebody come in and giving a structure will help a lot. It just is, we're all different in that respect. When we start talking about actually downsizing and moving into another place, and I use the term downsizing kind of generally, when Lynn moved, she moved from one place to another about the same size, but it was an opportunity to get rid of some of the older stuff. Just moving is downsizing in my mind. Um, there are people who will help you with the whole process. They'll come in, say, hey, you're going to the ABC community, and you have 800 square feet. Your house is 3,000 square feet. Let's talk about how to make this is what people face. Let's talk about making the transition. What is your biggest challenge? We'll help you with the organizing, with getting rid of the stuff. Not only that, once we get the floor plan and what you're planning to bring, we will actually move it for you. We will make your bed and put the pictures up on the walls for you. There are people who do this and companies that do this for a living. So you don't have to do it all by yourself. We created a website called seniororbit.us. I have some cards here with the URL. It's not a selling site. We're not selling services to you. We're not telling you how wonderful we are. We are, but we're not telling you that. Okay. And there are people there who help you organize. There are lawyers there who work with people our age, getting trusts and everything in line there. There are financial people. You want to stay in your home? You want to take the equity out? There are reverse mortgage experts there and who really understand it. And while it has a bad reputation for some people, it's a fantastic way to get their living expenses. There are wellness, there are a whole bunch of home health aides. I know that when I had my knee replaced, I was pretty immobile for a while, and I had people come into the house to help me for a week or two until it, yeah, my bedroom's on the 2nd floor. I still climb the steps every day. I consider it's part of my physical therapy, if you will. It's the only way I can tolerate it. Okay. If I give it good meaning like that. So use the site, ask people. Your councils on aging again, are excellent. And if there's anything we can do, pick up the phone and call us. We answer our phones. We're of that generation. Okay.
Share these. Here, you hold that. And I will.
Send them down.
And while Lynn's doing that, I want to thank you so much for your attention. This has been great. This is, no, I thought with all the rain, nobody would come. Yes, please.
Well, I'm really interested in how you decide when to ask or not ask children, friends, whatever, just get rid of something versus asking because they may not want it.
I'll share a very funny story, I guess. Those charger plates that were my grandmother's. I have a codicil in my will that my kids are not allowed to get rid of them. Now, I'm not going to be around to enforce it. I'm sure it's not legal, but I'm hoping there's enough Jewish guilt attached to it that. So, what the answer to your question is often and always. Okay. I was shocked when my son in law, who had said no dishes, no anything, looked at that china last month and said, "Hey, these are gorgeous. I'd take them." Like, wow. So pull them out, use them, don't say anything. Maybe miracles will happen. And I also think that things change. They change in our kids' minds too as they age out and start getting perhaps a little more sentimental, that they might change their mind.
And I think a lot depends on your family dynamics. You speak to your daughters almost every day, don't you? I have one son. If I speak with him once a month, that's about normal for us. No, seriously. And it was funny when in the middle of COVID, all of a sudden he started calling every week. He says, "My wife said I should call you more." And it's not that we have a bad relationship. We have a good relationship, but that is the relationship. So any other questions?
I was wondering if you had any experience with your clients that people that you work with made an inventory. This was something that my mother did. She had the time. She had a big house full of stuff, and we were all worried about how we were going to be left to deal with the stuff. So she just over time, room by room, made an inventory of what was in the room, of anything that she could imagine had any, I mean, not under the kitchen sink, okay, but pieces of furniture and things that sat on tables and stuff like that. And she left a place, it was like a spreadsheet. She left a place for any information she thought we should know, like this was Grandma Ward's. And then she left a column for us to come in and say, "I want that." Well, let me just tell you that it worked and it didn't work. What worked was, I think it really helped her because she felt like she was honoring all of her stuff, especially the things that had belonged to people in the family. And she was really making that effort. I, as the oldest, took this as a sacred task and went through every room and everything. And my daughter did the same thing. My brother took one thing and said, "I don't need to do all that. I just want this." And my sister didn't do it at all. So I can't tell you that it works flawlessly, but I think it has advantages. Yeah. And I think when it came time to have an auction, which is one of the possibilities you haven't mentioned, it was very clear, like what things were going to go into the auction because she had sort of figured that out too. The other thing, you were talking about things that have an emotional, I think that the strategy that we used with my mother was, again, I'm the oldest, so I raised my hand, was if there are things that belong to people in the family, you've indicated that you want to know have a home. I said, anything that nobody agrees to take, I'll take them. But, and I will try to find someone in the family who wants them, a cousin or, whatever. But I said, you're going to have to trust me on this. You know, I said, I don't want you to be asking me every other day, what's going to happen with, you know, grandma awards, whatever. And that seemed to work. You know, she felt like she had done that handoff, and I'm still figuring out what to do with some stuff, but I have.
I so admire your mother.
Funny. I was walking through, my kids hate my artwork. They think it's, I mean, I like, but some of it was in my parents' house. Some of it is signed, and I took it upon myself to start Googling some of these artists. And some of it has a considerable amount of value. I didn't realize that. My kids who hate it probably didn't realize that. They might have junked it, and I'm starting to catalog it. So it's like the painting over the fireplace with the soldier without a face. The kids hate it. They just hate it. They think it's the dumbest thing ever. It's worth several $1,000s because this art, I mean, it's yeah. So I'm starting to catalog that kind of stuff so that at least if they're going to get rid of it, they should get something for it, right? So,
Of course.
Mhm.
I used to work for an auction house. One thing you're just starting to address here is that some of us may need to really get something for our stuff. We may need that income that comes from what we have that has some value, but we might not know what that value is. I mean, you were able to do some looking. But I think we're Sue. So are we giving them that handout of local resources?
All of the places you could donate furniture.
Right,
auctions,
right.
And all of
So,
that.
so an auction house is a good place to investigate it's not true that all furniture has value. There may be older, rare pieces or whatever that do. And you may not even know that the things that you have value. So you can have someone, evaluate them. And there are places that will do things for free. There are state jewelers you can go to and have them look at your jewelry, and they'll give you a market value, and it costs you nothing.
That's a very, very good point. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Judy Cranshaw. I'm a member of Pilgrim Church. I'd like to thank you ladies for coming. You've inspired me. It's a rainy day. I'm going to go home and dive into a closet. So I really appreciate your words today. And I wondered if this group has some feedback for COA and Pilgrim Church in terms of future programs that this or the other topics have sort of brought to mind. One was that online question to me anyway, is would there be people interested in learning how to sell the things that they think might be worth some money, like on eBay or whatever? Could I see a show of hands if there'd be anybody interested in a, workshop on how to sell? See a few. So any other topics related to this or any others that you might like to see us co-sponsor? If something does come to mind, let us know. But thank you very much. I really mean it. I'm doing a closet today.
Yeah, yes, sir.
My mother did something a number of years before she died. She talked to all of her descendants and said, here are little stickers, and anything you want, put your initials on it. And when I pass away, we'll know who wants it. Now, I happen to put more stickers on than anyone else, but it was, very helpful because if there was only one sticker on it, it was obvious and it didn't have to be discussed. And then you got some of the very popular items with half a dozen stickers on them, and those you knew we've got to work on. We've got to figure out a way to divide it up. And amazingly enough, there was my brother and I, so there were two sides of the family. And so things basically, if there were two items, one went to one side, one went to the other. And it was amicable and it worked. I was amazed. We're all speaking to each other. It wasn't, uh, it, it was amazingly easy. But those little stickers helped a lot. I got a lot of things.
On, on another note, I, I've never tried the stickers, but I like that idea. On your resources, the handout, I went through it and there are two more that my husband and I have used recently I'd like to add. One is, maybe known to you folks, through Chucky Blaney. Chucky volunteers, a lot at Project Just Because in Hopkinton. That's a great place. And then we took some old sheets and an old blanket to Bay Path Humane Society on Legacy Place in Hopkinton. You just go down 135 and at the light at Western Nurseries, you hang a right and you can get there.
Well, you've been a wonderful audience. I want to thank you so very much for your time. I hope you found this useful, at least a little bit. We enjoyed being here. Thank you.
Thank you. So, oops, I want everybody to go home and start decluttering, because I'm going to. I'm gonna start with my craft room. If I go before my husband, he will be cursing. I have so much fabric. Yep. Yeah, so it was, it's in the folder. Yeah,
That's it.
resources. And it has places to donate. It has all the contact information of who presented. It has information, links to co-housing, what we did last week. So it's, and I will add the two that were given today. So again, thank you for coming. We will definitely think of some new topics for the fall. And if you have any ideas or interested in a specific topic, just email me or Judy at the church, and we'll be glad to find people to come and speak about it. Stay dry.
Thank you.